What you know about me? What you know about me?
Good morning, beautiful people on the internet. The last time we actually had a good Formula 1 season was 2021. We had Verstappen versus Hamilton.
It was the merest of touches, but it was enough. And look how the wheel has come loose from the rim.
I mean, I guess Stroll hasn't changed, but we had Stroll. Lando failing wins before we even thought about him failing wins.
Slides off the track.
George Russell thinking that he's that guy.
What the f was he doing?
Grooves, did that go round?
And that was a while back, but in that singular season, there was a lot of shit that happened. There was a championship fight, there was people retiring, there was good racing, wheel-to-wheel battles, and obviously the infamous Mazepin and the infamous Latifi. Now, during that season, you already know that Drive to Survive was licking their lips and looking everywhere and being like, hey, we are going to make some bank off of this Formula 1 season. And guess what? They're probably doing the same thing right now. They goddamn know they're going to cash in because of everything that is happening in Formula 1. There's been highs, obviously, a lot of highs for a lot of drivers, but at the same time, there's been a big low for pretty much an entire continent. Hope you enjoy. It's best if we start with the entire continent going into another Great Depression. Yep, sorry to be that guy, but if you're enjoying the video, subscribe and like. I don't know why you wouldn't. I love you, and please do it. Please. Now, Logan Sargeant to America is like the Charles Leclerc of Ferrari. He's like the Lewis Hamilton of Britain. He's like the Kimi Räikkönen of Finland. He is like the Antonio Giovinazzi of Italy? Yeah, maybe I'm pushing it slightly with the last one. But Logan Sargeant got into the sport at the start of 2023, and over the course of 2023, it was pretty bad. Let's be real. Now, yes, this is a video about 2024, but like kind of set the scene, come on. There was a couple crashes, literally no good results. Until we headed to Texas, where he was actually close to his teammate for the first time in his entire career. Although he did finish 12th on track, Alex Albon did finish 11th, but due to some minor complications with the Ferrari and the Mercedes of Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, they both DNF'd, which promoted Alex Albon to P9 and Logan Sargeant to P10, which means he scored points at his home Grand Prix. However, fast forward an entire year, Texas is coming up next, and guess what? He's no longer on the grid. He's no longer on the field. The entire season was a struggle for him. The entire season was absolutely trash. Let's be 100% real. He crashed a couple times here and there, and when Alex Albon crashed in Australia, to shatter his confidence even further, Williams said to him, hey, we're going to give your car to Alex Albon. Because James Vowles then further said, we need to maximize the potential of our drivers. And let's be real, Alex Albon has more of a chance to score points than Logan Sargeant. To shatter a man's confidence like that, what do you expect? Do you expect him to perform good? That's like the way Gunther Steiner treated Mick Schumacher. And look how he ended up. Oh, well, they got the same fate, didn't they? They're no longer in this. Well, anyway, if that wasn't bad enough, the interviewers were asking questions that were like,
Sainz has been announced as a Williams driver next year. Did that news come as a surprise to you?
No, not necessarily.
Would you consider staying with the team as a reserve driver next year?
Is that really necessary? And then it came to Zandvoort, where Williams had a big upgrade package, and they were going to perform absolute wonders. And Logan Sargeant bins the new upgrade package into the wall, it burns, James Vowles cries. And from that point onwards, he got dropped. And literally the entirety of America was flooded with tears. And it was sad, because Logan Sargeant, one of the greatest drivers of all time, got dropped. Now, if you want to add more tears into the wounds, a little more salt there, then the person who replaced Franco Colapinto, who has barely had a season in Formula 2, replaced him, and in his second outing in the car, he scored points. And it wasn't just 1 point, it was 4 points. And that's 400 times as many points as Logan Sargeant has gotten in his whole career. Now, fast forward another week to Singapore, and he got P11, which his first time in Singapore, third race, that is pretty goddamn impressive. Do you know what impressed me the most? Sergio Perez getting boxed up by Franco Colapinto, one of the most experienced drivers versus the least experienced driver on the grid, as Sergio Perez is complaining that this guy is too good to overtake. I don't think anyone has ever said that about Logan Sargeant. Now, probably should stick to going round in circles in NASCAR.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops, God bless America, and gentlemen, start your engine!
Now, personally, if I was America, I'd look at Argentina, where Franco Colapinto is from. I am tempted to nuke you for the amount of disrespect that you've brought onto the great American nation. That is what I would do. And speaking of wars, and maybe not civil wars, but civil wars, let's talk about Alpine. Alpine and their civil war-iness. Now, ever since Alpine rocked up to pre-season testing, their livery spoke miracles about their season.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Colour scheme of pink and blue, but then going with an all-black car because you gotta save weight because the car is looking like a little Gorlock the Destroyer. That is what they did, and ever since that point they stepped on track, it has been absolutely shambolic. Bahrain, they are so far off the lead, you might as well think they're back in 2023. And this is the team that a couple seasons ago had Daniel Ricciardo, they had Oscar Piastri, they had Fernando Alonso, and now what? They have nothing. Everybody has left that team and said goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. And it clearly didn't get better because they struggled to score points every single race. And every single race, they didn't score any points. And then Monaco came around and they were like, hey, yes, Monaco, we may be able to get some points. We're starting in an alright position. Hey, hey, hey. But the team kind of forgot that they have Esteban Ocon on the team, who throughout his entire career has been a known terrorist. Osama bin Laden, who? No. It's Esteban Ocon. That's who you should be focusing on, and that's who you should probably... Well, do you know what? This is what happened.
Now, if I were in my car, I'd look at that space and go, well, that's too small. And then I'd go find another. But that's not what a French person would do.
And then Lance Stroll thought he was a big man by talking on the radio saying, ooh, what are these guys doing? But let's not forget that Lance Stroll has had his own fair share of shenanigans as well, so, shh.
Unbelievable, man. I don't fucking understand what he was doing. Well done, guys. Well done.
It's like, talk about Pierre Gasly going airborne and still scoring points. Let's remember what happened in Texas. You sent Fernando Alonso airborne, and guess what? He scored points, and you DNF'd. So, I don't think you have the right to speak there. But ever since that point of Esteban Ocon doing those shenanigans yet again with yet another teammate, Alpine struck him with a bad hammer and asked him to politely fuck off. And that's what he did. And he went to Haas, which I don't think... Well, it's Haas. What'd you expect? Jack Doohan has stepped in the car, a rookie, and that has kind of broken the French on French. So that has disrupted the Civil War. So maybe that's a good thing, and maybe he'll perform. Because he is Australian. And I guess that cancels out for the other Australian on the grid, who is leaving.
Sweat.
And for anyone who thought I left, I never left.
So, it's official. Daniel Ricciardo's time as a V-Carb race driver is over.
What a great segue to talk about another Australian by the name of Daniel Ricciardo. Once feared by anyone in any realm because of his dive bombs, and now feared by absolutely nobody because of his I actually couldn't think of a word. Anyway, he started off the season not only being bullied by Yuki Tsunoda after races, after Bahrain, which was a sad sight to see, but after a couple tangles here and there, a couple crashes, and just in general, being a lot worse than Yuki Tsunoda. There was questions upon questions, which half of them were, should he replace Sergio Perez, and the other half should be, he should be dropped for Liam Lawson. And there came a point where it was actually being considered, both options. You see, it's not only the fact that he's slower in qualifying, he's a lot worse in the races, and Yuki Tsunoda can actually score points. Yuki Tsunoda has DNF'd the last couple races and still trumps Daniel Ricciardo in the points. Then Singapore came around and there was rumours that it's going to be Daniel Ricciardo's last race. Daniel Ricciardo was breaking down in tears. Everybody after the race was like, yes, we feel sorry for you, and it's a sad way to go. And nothing's been announced, yet we're all expecting this or that to have been his last race. Not only was he also quite shambolic in the race, qualifying was awful, the race was awful, and he set the fastest lap at the end, which kind of signifies that, yeah, go have one more quick run in the race and that'll be it for your entire career. A driver who has won 8 Grand Prix, a driver who was once contending for championships, has been disrespected to the ground, and it's kind of sad to see. And it all started because he left Red Bull. Imagine if he stayed at Red Bull. He world champion by now? Probably. And honestly, the way Daniel Ricciardo has been disrespected not only sends the entire of Australia to sadness, but me and a lot of other people, because I grew up watching Daniel Ricciardo, and probably so did other people, and that actually makes me sad. Very sad. But I guess good things come to an end. And speaking of the Red Bull team, let's actually talk about Red Bull. If we think about Red Bull and their domination over the last couple of years, you'd probably think of something like this.
Max Verstappen wins for Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen.
But in reality, it has all kind of changed. At the start of the season in Bahrain, Verstappen's lead to Perez in P2 was 20-something seconds. And that is like jaw-dropping, mouth-watering. That shouldn't be a thing. I thought we left your dominance last year. I thought we said goodbye to Verstappen winning pretty much every single race. I was kind of getting frustrated with hearing the Dutch anthem every single race. But then there came a point.
And that's Sergio Perez going up. It's Perez, he's hit the wall. Sergio Perez, and he's in the gravel. The leading contenders for the World Championship come together at turn 3. He's got a puncher. He's damaged his front wing. Posing under braking, he's going to force his way and hits Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris wins for the first time in Formula 1. Charles Leclerc wins the Monaco Grand Prix. George Russell wins an amazing Austrian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins the British Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri wins. For Mercedes, it's a 1-2. Russell wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Hamilton comes home to finish in second. Piastri completes the podium.
This is the first time since 2020 that you haven't won in 4 races. You've gone 4 races without winning. How much work do you and the team have to do, and how close do you think the rest of the pack realistically is to what you have?
I mean, they're ahead of us.
That now I'm kind of missing hearing the Dutch anthem, because it went from Verstappen having the fastest car to now having the 4th fastest car. Ferrari have overtaken Red Bull, Mercedes have overtaken Red Bull, McLaren are now the fastest. I don't know how it went from, Verstappen getting a DNF in Australia to him losing in Monaco, to him losing in Austria, to him losing in Britain, Spa, Monza, Baku, his hometown race, Zandvoort. He's lost pretty much everything. And compared to Sergio Perez has literally been at the bottom of the field every single race, crashing out with everybody he can. In Monaco, big crash. In, I don't know, everywhere, big crash. In Baku, big crash. He's always done something bad, whereas Verstappen, still, even though he has a pretty shit car, he is still leading the championship by a long country mile. Which, if that not only shows how good Verstappen is, then I don't know what does. Adrian Newey, the greatest car designer of all time, has left for Aston Martin. The chief strategic person is leaving to go to McLaren. The Red Bull's losing everyone. Helmut Marko has said that if Christian Horner stays in that team for any longer, the team is going to go kaput. The team went kaput, and I guess Helmut Marko was correct. I don't know what's happening at that team, but it seems like it's crumbling into many, many pieces. And if something doesn't change, then not only are they going to lose the constructors because McLaren has overtaken them. At the start of the season, if you told me that, I would have said, no, you're insane. But yeah, Red Bull has gone to shit. Lando Norris is now in contention for the championship against Verstappen, and who knows, if Red Bull can't develop the car any better, Lando Norris has just finished the Singapore Grand Prix, practically a grand slam if it wasn't for Daniel Ricciardo's little fraudulent fastest lap. I would be kind of shaking if I was Verstappen and Red Bull, because McLaren are hot on their tails. And speaking of McLaren,
It's Friday then. What the fuck is this dickhead doing?
Lando, we can be world champion, I said. Please, Lando. Lando! Lando!
their upturn of form has actually raised people's eyebrows to think that they are cheaters. Their front wing and rear wing are flapping around like, I don't know, like the Mercedes 2022 in Baku, bouncing up and down. Lando Norris has been getting a lot of stick because, I don't know, people don't like him. He acts like a child and doesn't, I don't know, he's just a bit spoilt and just acts a bit weird. I don't understand. Like, if the two Mercedes drivers are feeling sick after Singapore, I mean, you saw George Russell basically not be able to move outside of that car. We know their seats overheat. We know there's a lot of problems with that Mercedes. And you're saying, how come they get to not go to the driver panel after the interview? I had the same race as them. You don't know other people. I don't know. I feel he doesn't think sometimes. And then he cries about Verstappen crashing him out and saying, if Verstappen can't apologize or say that that was my fault for the incident in Austria, then I can't be friends with him. It's at the end, kind of grow up, mate. Grow up. Now, McLaren might have had an upturn in performance, but the thing that has sparked everybody is the fact that Lando Norris has been in the sport for, what, 5-6 years? And he's scored 3 wins. Whereas his teammate Oscar Piastri has been in the sport for a year and a half and pretty much has matched every single achievement that Lando Norris has ever had. Which, Oscar Piastri, the next Kimi Raikkonen? Oscar Piastri better than Lando Norris? Questions have been flying around. Should Oscar Piastri be the leader driver? Because Lando Norris fumbles every single time. I'm not sure. On one side, you have Oscar Piastri sending dive bombs down Lando Norris and kind of disrespecting him. And on the other side, you have the team backing Oscar Piastri. You have the fans backing Oscar Piastri. But then on the other side, you have Lando Norris fighting for a championship. And you're like, who should we back? The championship fight or Oscar Piastri, who is probably better than Lando Norris? And I think that finally they've come to a conclusion of papaya rules, let's help Lando Norris. Maybe he can fight for a championship. And speaking of championships, a team that actually, realistically, should have won many championships, but hasn't because they've been fumbling the bag.
Look out! Look out! Look out! Charles Leclerc! Charles Leclerc!
It's Ferrari. Ferrari has literally sent everybody on a roller coaster of emotions. The highs, the lows, the mediums. They started off the season pretty high. But then after that, things started to tumble, things started to get worse, blah, blah, blah. Charles Leclerc then won his home race. It's all a little, what is going on? I'm not sure. Ferrari are fighting for the championship after finishing 8th, 12th. How has that happened?
Track, cuts the chicane, off goes Leclerc, through goes Hamilton!
Now, Lewis Hamilton has gone over to Ferrari, which leaves up an open seat for Mercedes. And then Monza comes around and Kimi Antonelli gets put in the car. He crashes the car into the wall. And as a, well, thank you for crashing the car, he gets that Mercedes race seat for next season. All a bit confusing. Mercedes are back. And that concludes everything that has happened the entire season. I hope you enjoyed. Have a safe, fantastic rest of your day. Don't die, because you can't watch other videos. And peace.
That's all, folks.